Hi guys, my name is Olga and I'm a master degree student at two remarkable European universities, University of Arts in Graz and High School of Music in Lucerne. A couple of weeks ago, I've had a wonderful workshop with American students about what is it like to be a classical professional musician. Which aspects does this activity include? We spoke about practicing, daily routine, about concerts and competitions, about which impact does this activity have on us. And also in the end, in a short question-answer session, we have managed to cover some interesting topics, but since that was my first experience in doing such thing, it could seem that this workshop was a little bit chaotic and unbalanced. What can usually happen when you try to cover the topic you can talk about endlessly within only 1 hour. So that's how I came up with the idea of this video. I thought it would be a good supplement to everything I've said during the workshop, such a summary in a way, where all the information will be more structured and where I can also answer some questions which weren't asked but seem to me nevertheless pretty important to be answered. For the more enjoyable watching, I've decided to give the information also in a form of question answer, and yes, since the topic is pretty universal, I'm sure it will be interesting not only for the students we worked with, but also for everyone who wants to know about this artistic field a little bit more. So I hope you will enjoy it, and let's get started. Who is a classical musician? The traditional or academical answer would sound like classical musician is a person who graduated from music school or/and musical university, who performs classical repertoire and plays a classical instrument. As a clue, I need to say this is pretty formal and incomplete definition, and the real life of classical musician is much broader and diverse from this definition. What is it like to study at a special music school or university? Special music school gives you the base. That is a number of skills that are sufficient for this profession. This includes practical skills like playing technique, mastering the repertoire, feeling yourself comfortably on stage, and theoretical knowledge like music theory, music history, biographies of composers, basics of harmony and air training, and so on. The final goal of all these endeavors is, of course, the stage performance. You can perform as a soloist, as an orchestra musician, as a chamber player, that is in a group with your colleagues, be it trio, quartet, quintet, and so on. Basically, if the music school gives you the general idea and basic skills of the profession, university makes you a specialist in the field, like in all other professional areas. Graduating from musical university, you know all the main composers and the most important compositions created during the long history of music, and you are able to perform even the most difficult of them with professional quality on the public. However, graduating from music school makes you a well-prepared music lover. So you can play music by yourself or with your friends. You can enjoy the beauty of classical compositions. Still, with a classical school education, you can be a professional musician in other genres of music, like pop music, for example. What does the day of professional musician look like? I would say there are as many types of daily routine as there are musicians. The only thing that unites all of us is, of course, practice. Practice takes up most of our time and is the basis of our activity. But everyone does it in own manner. It depends on preferences and capabilities of each certain musician. Here people also often ask, how many hours do we practice every day? The same answer. Everything is individual and really depends on the needs and capabilities of each musician. But it seems to me there's still some certain objective amount of hours you need to spend with your instrument. For me, it's from 3 to 6 hours per day. Less would be physically insufficient. More would be a little bit tiring for your brain, unless you're preparing for some serious performance like competition, for example, which I will mention later in this video. Also, a very important fact, many musicians prefer or are forced, especially now during pandemic, to practice without an instrument, so really without physically touching it. We often have to resort to the metal practice of this kind, especially during our concert tours, traveling by train or plane. How do we prepare for a concert or a competition? I would say it depends on the importance of your performance, because concerts usually require less investment into the sports side of playing, that is technical perfection. So you can focus on presentation of your musical ideas, on your interpretation, on the beauty of music. If your playing is inspiring, nobody will scold you for the minor inaccuracies during your playing. But if we prepare for a competition, all I've said above is complemented by really sportive technical preparation with long hours of gaining automatism and maximum confidence on stage. Back to the number of hours of practice. Here it can be already 8, 10, even 12 hours per day, which is already too extreme for me, and I try to avoid such an unhealthy stress before a performance and to plan my preparation in advance. What do we do in our leisure time? Like all other people, we enjoy absolutely ordinary things like meeting friends, watching movies, reading books, communicating on social networks, playing games. Many of us have some creative hobbies like photography, filming, singing, dancing, traveling, hiking. As to me, I prefer horse riding, though I can't afford it too often. As to our sport activity, here we need to be slightly more careful than other people, because we need to take care of our hands, wrists, fingers, neck muscles to preserve them from overloading or trauma. Where can we work to earn a living? This is a question from the category of unasked questions, but it seems to me it will be still interesting to know about it. Some of the professional musicians become stage performers. As I said before, you can be a soloist, you can be an orchestra musician, you can play together with your colleagues in a chamber ensemble. I would say the solo career is one of the most difficult kind of employment in music, and not everyone can stand a job like this. Some of us turn to the profession of conductor, which however requires an additional course at university, special studies, and lots of practice. Some musicians become teachers of music. This also requires an additional education to the basic university course, but actually every classical musician can teach and does it from time to time. Be it in form of private lessons or master classes, that is a short training course from a few days to a couple of weeks, which is usually not tied to any particular educational institution. You can also be a musical researcher who deals with musical theory, history, some philosophical subjects like aesthetics, or the role of music in broader cultural contexts. These people usually become musical writers or critics. The other field for the professional musician is so-called applied music. That is the use of music in psychology or medical therapy. And finally, musician can be a composer. For me, this is one of the most complex areas of musical activity, because one needs to be well prepared and educated in musical theory, harmony, instrumentation, traditions, history, to gain valuable results as a demanded composer. And the last question, which was also not asked but seems quite important, especially for the people who are maybe less familiar with the classical music and classical repertoire. Does classical music require preparation before listening? As to me, I'm absolutely convinced that music is a language understandable for everyone at any level of involvement, since it appeals to the basic concepts of human perception, euphony, that is harmony of sounds, and melodical beauty. I think that the impression of music depends not so much on a genre or preparation of the listener, but mainly on the artist, because great artists always make an impression on any public. Of course, any classical composition has own history and some details understandable only for professionals, but to refuse from them is the same as if you would refuse to go high in the mountains just because you don't know the composition of earth layers or names of flowers growing in alpine meadow. That's the same, because beauty is objective and it can be enjoyed by anyone in any conditions. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this small overview of the profession of classical musician. Thank you for your attention. And once again, I would like to thank the students of Regis Jesuit High School for their questions and feedback, and the school administration for inviting me to speak at this workshop. I wish you wonderful winter holidays, lovely family time, and thanks for watching. Bye!